the minister stepped aside. And every day, I would come into the office and you see, how people are suffering and so on. You see crowds of people and else on the ground floor. So I decided that I would tell my peers and the other people to create a small office for me, so that on Wednesday, on the ground floor, instead of asking Mwananchi and other people to come up, to create a small office for me on the ground floor where I could meet those people who had urgent problems that they thought needed to solve. I didn't use the office for long, for this simple reason. I discovered that it was going to become a health issue to me, because it was going to be, you can emotionally, sometimes you hear things, you go home, you can't even sleep. Because you see, when a widow walks to you and tells you that she has lost her land to people because of fraud involving even public officials, and this poor widow cried before you, and she even tells you that, by the way, even the remains of my husband are on that piece of land, and now they have taken it away and so on. So you're solving those kinds of problems, and every time I came across that, I would get into that situation all the time. Even if you have a heart of stone, those things break you. One time we used to have a problem at one of our land registries in the Rift Valley. So I decided, as I used to, because I believe that work must be done. Like I used to tell people, education is not delivered at Jogo House. Jogo House, we only have files and papers. Education happens in the schools where our children and our teachers are. So a good part of my week will be spent in schools. And I would wake up without preamble or introduction and turn up at a school. And that is how I discovered the challenges and tried to solve the challenges with the teachers, the parents, and the students. Finally, one morning, two journalists from the local vernacular station, SIFM, after public meeting, accosted me, ran to me, and said, they were trying to get my attention. Said, they shouted in my mother tongue, because they knew that I would love to listen. Said, you have to help this woman. Asked them, what woman? He said, this widow. Said, what is it? They gave me some paperwork and so on. One of those journalists is in this room, James Bishan. And for you guys, and then this story I'm going to tell you will tell you the trip or the journey that we are beginning. We'll tell you the character of what we are trying to do. Finally, this was the story of a woman who had lived 6 years with the husband's body in the mortuary and her grandson's body in the mortuary for 2 years, somewhere in Matiang'i. The problem had gone unresolved, the matter had gone to court so many times, and I was shocked, first of all, when I heard about it. So I promised them, as usual, I will get into it. And I got into it, I called everybody responsible, including the Minister for Lands at that time. We had conversations, we called in public officials. We discovered, to our horror, what it was, that actually, there was no reason why this woman's husband's body was in the morgue for 6 years. There was an attempt by some public officials and some well-heeled people to defraud her, to steal part of her land. For 6 years, and the cultures we have in Africa, she couldn't even go to a funeral in the next village because she is a widow whose husband has not been buried. And 4 years after the husband had died, and the body, the husband was still in the morgue, her grandson died, who also could not be buried. So for